Well, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friend No Way. As you see from the title, who needs borders? Well, in order to understand what borders really mean to society and cultures, we must look at first who is pushing no borders. Who is talking about how man and how the evil is, using borders to restrain us. The people that are carrying on about it, that say, open borders, well, they are communist. The people in society that are carrying on acting all intelligent about, I don't see no borders, and I've traveled across the states, and they are, sadly, they're uneducated. They are godless, and, well, basically, as the Bible would call them, they're fools. If a man chooses to be ignorant, then let him be ignorant. That's their own soul. So when we first, to look at borders, to first look at it, let's go all the way back to the creation, when God created the heavens and the earth. When Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, there was a border. There was a limitation to where they could and could not go. They could not exit out into the rest of the world, the rest of the creation that God had created. They were confined within the Garden of Eden. Everything they needed was within the Garden of Eden. When they were disobedient and they committed the sins of the flesh, and they had eaten of the forbidden fruit that gave them the knowledge of good and evil, then yes, the the opening to the rest of the world was revealed and unsealed, and they went forth out into the rest of God's creation. Now, as you come up through the history of everything within the Bible, you will see that there was always borders, there was always limitations. Look at when Abraham came onto the River Jordan, and they came to the shores of where Sodom and Gomorrah and the other villages and stuff were along there, and we all know the evils that were there. They were given that boundary. You do not cross this boundary. You stay here, and you do not associate with those across the river, and for the evil and everything that they were. But we all know that they were disobedient anyway, and in they went, and we know the story of what happened. So then, even as you come forth, and even in the time of Moses, when the promised land was spoke of to Moses, and Moses gave it unto the Israelites as they were traveling through and coming onto the promised land, there was a boundary set. God had a set boundary. There was a boundary to the north, a boundary to the south, a boundary to the west and the east. And this is your land. This is the land I shall give unto you. It was the land of Canaan. Now, at the same time, today we have people talking about Palestine. Palestine never existed. There was no such place. It was Israel. A Roman said, the land of Palestine, which it never existed. It never was. To them it did. To them, that's what they called it, but it was not Israel. It was not God's sanctuary. It was not God's promised land unto his people. And this is the deception that they use today. This is why so many people fight over boundaries. Well, if there's no borders, then why are you fighting over what is Palestine and what is Israel, and Israel don't exist? See, people that carry on with this, they don't know God. They don't know the Bible. Their only excuse is that, oh, well, a king wrote the Bible. No, God had men write the Bible. Inspired by him. They wrote what basically God inspired them to write. And you can argue and fight all you want, but when you die, it'll be between you and God. I have no use for the foolishness of the ignorance of people today. So, Palestine never existed. This, again, is Muslims, Islam, trying to conquer and take something that was somebody else's, because Islam never had their own land. They always took it from someone else. But that's okay. The atrocities of what the terrorists within these areas do to the peaceful Israeli people, oh, that doesn't matter. The only thing the haters use is what Israel does in defense of themselves. But let's move on. So now today you have all these people acting big and carrying on about why do we have borders, there's no such thing, and it's all to control you and this and that and the other thing. So let's just do this. Let's take just America and we'll get rid of all town lines, town borders. There are no more municipalities. There are no more state lines. It's just, this is the United States. From coast to coast, from north to south, here it is. This is the United States. So, now, who is going to govern the land? Who is going to protect the opportunity for you to succeed or fail or do your freedoms? Who's going to protect it? Well then, if we have no more town municipalities, we have no more states and state governments, that means we all fall under the scrutiny of the federal government. They will control it all. There are no more individual states. There are no more nothing. Now you have a totalitarian rule, about what we see in D.C. today anyway. It's a totalitarian rule. And they blackmail the states into doing their bidding. And of course, how would you in, say, Colorado want to live under the scrutiny of the likes of Gavin Newsom in California? Or what the liberals have set up in New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, even right here in Maine, Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. How would you like to live under those kinds of people? That you have no rights. You can't even defend yourself against the criminal element. Oh, but that's okay. The criminal element just goes where they want. You no longer have any freedom. You no longer have the right to choose who you want governing over you or your state, because now it is just all one big country. Well, about like the communist of China, about North Korea. You see, this is why we had these individuals and individual states and individual towns, so you could hold your elected leaders in check, or you had some form of checks and balances. The good thing about with our borders and towns, you can, within the confines of the United States, if you are a true United States citizen, you can travel from town to town, state to state, And that is your freedom to do so. If you don't like the town or city you're living in, you can just freely move somewhere else. But now, let's take that all away. And you're under the scrutiny of the totalitarian rulers of Washington, D.C. Now they set the rules, and they set the boundaries of where you can and cannot go. You must stay here, you must stay there. Do you know in China? In China, you get your working orders. That's what happens in China. A new factory starts up. We need 10,000 employees. We need 10,000 basically slave labor. You will be notified by the communist government, and you must go. It doesn't matter how many miles, how many thousands or hundreds of miles away this place is. You must now travel to that factory, and you must, by per order of the communist government, work in this factory. It doesn't matter the working conditions, it doesn't matter the hours, and the pay doesn't matter because, well, the communist government sets that as well. And this is how it functions. Now, how would you like America being the same way? It doesn't matter what area you go to. You can't go to Texas and be free. You can't go to North or South Dakota to have some freedom, because no, there's no boundaries left. There are no state line borders. The corruption of New York City can bleed out through anywhere. The murdering thugs and criminal element of Chicago can go and bleed into every aspect in every corner of America. Okay, so now let's take this a little bit further. Because of our corrupt government in D.C., what do we have with this so-called open southern border? There's 100,000 people living on the street in Los Angeles, 60,000 in San Diego, 80,000 in San Francisco. There's a couple 100,000 or more people throughout California living on the street in tents and under tarps on a sidewalk in front of a store. Stores can't function. You can't have a store because, well, nobody can get there. You can't walk down the sidewalk and go to a store because, well, people are living there under tarps and in tents. Vehicles pulled right up. If you don't believe me, go to something as simple as Google Map. Go check out Skid Row. Go check out all the streets and stuff within Los Angeles. And the more you travel down through the street view of Google Map and Google Earth, what do you see? Homeless encampments everywhere. Everywhere. Why is this happening? Because, you say it's fine. These people deserve to come to America. Okay. So I'm going to put it to you this way. You have this nice job, and you say you own your house. And we know that you don't really own your house because you have to pay property taxes and this, that, and the other thing, but that's beside the point. Now, if you don't believe in borders, and people should be able to come and go as they please, what are you going to do the day that you go to your job and you are told you no longer have that job? Because these group of people just came from another part of the world with no borders, and they're willing to do your job for a third of the pay that you want and you were getting. So now you find yourself unemployed. You find yourself losing your home, losing your apartment, losing where you live. Now you're the one on the street in a tent or a tarp because you lost everything. Because these people came from wherever in the world. There are no borders. There's no nothing. And, well, free enterprise, right? Right. So these people are now taking your job. Doesn't matter, because that's what you want. That's what you claim. So you see why there have been borders. All the natural resources. What's stopping other places within the world from just taking every natural resource? We're going to cut down all of your trees. We're going to take all of the oil, all of the gold, all of the copper, all of the silver, all of the needed minerals and ores right out. We're going to leave your land destitute. Because we have this big mega city over here, what used to be Russia, or China, or North Korea, or how about Brazil, Venezuela? Oh, well, that's okay. We're going to send it to Africa. And you have no say in the matter anymore. You can't elect your governing body within your state to protect your natural resources. Well, because there is no states anymore. Oh, and you can't stop the millions of people coming in from other parts of the world because, well, there are no borders. There are none. And where are you going to go? What, you going to jump on a ship and what? Go to some land over in Asia? Russia? Europe? Africa? So you see, when you have no limitations, you might think it's great. Well, you sit on your duff and you have your little live streams on the internet and you sit around with your alcohol and your dope and you work your little job. You have no idea what you're talking about. So many people, they don't have a clue. There's a reason why. Even the indigenous people of this land, they had their territories. And within those territories were the very resources, the food, the shelter, the areas that sustained their tribe. And yes, the indigenous people did fight each other and they slaughtered each other, but it was mostly they had their territories and they defended their territories. What are you going to do when you can't defend your food source anymore? Because it ain't yours. It belongs to the world. And, well, you have an abundance of something, so that means all these people in the world are going to come here and take it. And even now that we have no town lines and no state lines and no international borders, that means your house, you can't control that. That's not your private property. It's the property of the world. So that means when somebody wants to come and they're going to set up a tent, or they're just going to build a house or structure in your front lawn, in your backyard, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not yours. It belongs to the world. Do you even understand what it is you're talking about? Sadly, you don't. This is why they have dumbed down society. This is why the educational level of most of Americans today is that of a third grader. And that's it. People just don't have any intelligence left. They don't even have logic. They just listen to other people online. Why do you think they push all this stuff online? Because it is the dumbing down of society. It's your flat earth and space doesn't exist and on and on and on. And people just, and the Bible, oh, well, there's a deity. I really love the people that sit there and talk, oh, there's a deity and there's a God and there's a creator. Oh, but none of this is real. The Bible's not real. What the Bible says is not real. And on one breath they're saying God exists, and the next breath they're insulting every Christian out there. And I really love the people that compare Christianity to Catholicism. It's just as bad. Catholicism is not Christianity. They are two totally different belief structures, completely. One is of free will, one is totalitarian and idol worship. Catholicism is idol worship and totalitarian rule of sorts. We're going to tell you what to believe. And we're going to tell you. And you bow down to man, not to God. But this is what happens when you start thinking about borders. Think about what it is that you protect of your own. And you no longer have it. That's not your apartment anymore. There's no borders. There's no town line. There's no state line. Oh, so I want your apartment, so we're just going to push you out. And we're going to take it. Oh, that's not your field. You can't grow a garden for yourself because we want it. And that's what it creates. You're not intelligent enough to think about it that way. That most of the people in America aren't. These people that are screaming and laughing about borders and this and that. They don't comprehend. They are not intelligent enough to comprehend what it is that they're even saying. It just sounds good. And they have all these people right online believing in them. Oh well. This is what you have today. So think twice before you start talking about this stuff or believing in this stuff that you know. Freedom is there for a reason. And this is what it's all about. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is No Way.